Legendary rock band the Foo Fighters move into an Encino mansion seeped with grisly rock and roll history to record their much anticipated 10th album. Once in the house though, Dave Grohl finds himself grappling with supernatural forces that threaten both the completion of the album and the lives of the band. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burns Views. Today we're talking about the new movie from Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters obviously, called Studio 666. It's a band movie. We haven't gotten one of these in a while. The last one that I can actually recall is maybe like Pick of Destiny with Tenacious D. Spice World comes to mind, unfortunately. The Beatles, they had a couple of those way back in the 60s, and that is the inspiration for this film. They want to do a horror genre, taking pretty much like every type of cliche you can imagine, from The Shining to The Exorcist to Amityville Horror, and put it into like an old school type of 60s band movie, and that's exactly what you get. Now, going into the positives, this movie is gnarly as hell. It is gory in a great kind of way. Blood is splattering, people are getting decapitated. It's never actually scary, but it is kind of like, ooh, kind of gross out and kind of fun. I also love seeing the Foo Fighters. I am a giant Foo Fighter fan. I saw them live. I love Dave Grohl. I used to listen to them in high school. I still listen to them now. And yeah, it's great seeing these characters who've always been excelling at making really funny music videos do their own movie. With that said, going into negatives, this movie is messy. I'll give credit to Dave Grohl and even Taylor Hawkins, who I thought was surprisingly natural when it came to acting. The rest of the band, it's pretty clear what happened here. There's an interview on Jimmy Kimmel where they talk about how they basically didn't learn any of their lines, and they just basically were asking the crew members what their line was, and you feel it.
There was a whole lot of like, wait, what's my line? What am I supposed to? There's a lot of that.
Yes, that was
by the 25th take, you kind of get it.
You feel like these characters are in an episode of Scooby-Doo, or a prolonged episode of a, like an SNL sketch, and it just goes on way too long. It should have been like a tight 88 minutes, but it's like 2 hours long, and you can definitely chop out some of that middle act. There were several scenes where Dave is constantly trying to convince the rest of the band to push through and keep recording the session, and the band's like, I want to go home. Who's gonna tell my kids? Blah, blah, blah. And then we have other plot points that are also repeated where Dave Grohl is like, hey, you're not doing what I want you to do during this jam session. And the band's like, fuck you, Dave Grohl. We do this again and again and again, and that's not where the movie excels. The movie excels in the little bits of humor that work half of the time, and the horror elements and the kills and stuff like that. I think one thing that really came to mind with me was that this movie is very similar in a lot of ways to This Is the End, with James Franco and Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill. The difference in this movie is that in that movie, they took all of their personalities, their worst qualities in their personalities, and they exaggerated them to like 11. So they were able to like laugh at themselves and just really lean into that humor. With this, the characters are incredibly wooden. There is no personality. I think Dave Grohl is mostly possessed, and the other bandmates are mostly just annoyed. And like I said, Scooby-Doo, they run around. Whitney Cummings is in this too. She's the neighbor. I think she was kind of the highlight. She kind of was like the MVP in this movie, where she kind of brought a little bit of humor. Even that got a little bit old sometimes. Real Forte makes a cameo. That was fun. And Lionel Richie has a fantastic cameo in which he shows up and tells Dave Grohl to shut the fuck up, that's my song. Because he's playing a rendition of Hello. And that alone might make this worth a watch. But with that said, this movie is very much a mixed bag, and it may not be for everybody. With that said, I would no way tell you not to see this movie, but I do think it would be better suited with maybe a shot of Jägermeister and seeing it with a big, large group of friends, because otherwise you're going to find yourself scratching your head going, this movie's bad, right? And that's fine. These movies never have been traditionally good. They're just band movies. They're vanity projects. They're fun. They're campy. Campy is probably the best way to put it. And it's probably pretty forgettable. I'm not going to remember this movie in another month or so, but with that said, I am glad that this movie does exist, and I think it breaks even for me. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. For everything that's good about it, there's something also equally cringeworthy. I found myself thinking, you know what? The inner 12-year-old in me is loving the hell out of this. But then there's other moments in this where I'm going, you know, now I remember why things I thought were funny when I was 12 are definitely cringy now. There were definitely some scenes that kind of remind me of like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where it's just hijinks, poor acting, and the pacing is just kind of bleh. So, with that said, go check it out, but I do recommend grabbing some friends if you do. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. I have been John here in Burns Reviews. You just got burned. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to ring that bell and subscribe if you like videos just like this. We do early movie reviews every single week. This is coming out this Friday, and we will see you next time.